I didn't realize I had switched from, I was shooting the PDP, his like full size, and like with all the bells and whistles, and he handed me the PDP-F, and we had been training for hours, and kind of thought he handed me my Glock back, but it was the PDP-F, and I was like collecting my thoughts, and I like went to shoot it, and like my jaw actually dropped. We weren't filming, and I hate it because I really wish I could have caught that reaction. Yeah. It was just the most beautiful thing to shoot. I like fell in love with it. And so it's really hard. I always start with, Walther reached out to me. I don't get paid to say this. They just sent me a gun. That's the most connection I have with them, other than just really loving their entire team, and all their defensive instructors. Absolutely. Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Y'all ready?
I was born ready.
Sweet.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
No.
All right. Welcome to the Big Tex Ordnance Podcast. Today we have Ian, Chris, and Sophia. So we're here at SHOT Show 2023, and we're hanging out. And so Sophia, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you kind of got started, and who is Sophia?
Who's Sophia? So I am originally from Arkansas. I began martial arts when I was 13 years old, and I was very interested in just kind of being able to protect myself in any scenario. So I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai, and eventually became curious about weapons training. So I got into knife training and then became curious about guns. Eventually I reached out to a buddy of mine, and he showed me how to shoot, and I couldn't stop shaking the first time. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was a challenge that I hadn't experienced in a while. And I was really ready to take that to the next level. I wanted to start concealing, and then I ran into some issues with like style and concealment. So I began my page for Sophia, and I started posting my journey as a woman concealed carrying and trying to maintain her style. And then that kind of just led me down a road where I got to meet a lot of really amazing people that have supported my passion and also helped me find the next step. So I've done some defensive training. I've competed in USPSA only about 3 times now, so nothing major yet. And I have a podcast myself called She Shield Podcast. So yeah, that's about it.
Awesome.
So
what made you kind of want to get started in the whole self-defense aspect of it? I know you had like the background in martial arts and stuff.
Right.
Where did firearms start to kind of work into that?
Absolutely. So they weren't real firearms. We were in Krav Maga when I was like 15, and my instructor started talking about like how to check the gun for malfunctions after you get it away from the attacker. And I was like blown away by like the kind of like technique he was explaining. Just honestly, all he said was how to check that the mag is properly seated, and then how to like see if there's a round in the chamber. Just really simple things. And I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? So I finally reached out to a friend, and I just asked him to show me the ropes. And I don't know, the thrill of shooting was incredible. And also I started like talking to women and about my experiences, and a lot of them kind of expressed this fear of learning to shoot for the first time. And I just realized that I had this really unique perspective. I had a friend that was willing to teach me from the start, someone who actually like taught other people professionally. And since I'd already kind of been through that, and I had, been vulnerable in that way, I felt like I could share my story and get more people to do it. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you.
So talk about your podcast a little bit. What made you
Absolutely.
want to start that, and how did that get rolling?
Yeah, so She Shield Podcast, while she is in the name, it's not exclusive by any means to just women. In fact, every 2 weeks I have a guest speaker, and I try to switch it up between men and women, just because I really don't want it to be, just one or the other. And I have guest speakers come on and talk about, everything from self-defense to competition shooting to defensive shooting. So essentially, why I got started, your original question, I noticed there were some gaps in the industry, and I know that's a very general thing to say, so to kind of specify, I had a lot of questions about what to do next. I knew I wanted to learn defensive firearms training, but I didn't know where to go. I remember DMing like every firearm like influencer or anyone I knew in firearms just to ask, and I got very few responses. And I remember kind of like just craving like a resource that I could depend on for those topics and all the questions I had, but also not isolated to one resource. So She Shield has kind of been, I've created this platform where people can come on and talk about their areas of expertise and have a voice. I like to ask uncomfortable questions, and not uncomfortable in like the political sense, but kind of like, okay, so how would you transfer your training to women's training? Or like, what is your opinion on women's only training? So I feel like, for example, with women's only training, to go on a little tangent there, a lot of women are drawn to that because it's comfortable. They don't normally go into highly technical stuff right away because it's more about like the group aspect. Mm-hmm. But women are most likely to be attacked by men from what we've seen. And I will find some statistics on that if you'd like me to, but that's kind of, I feel like, the general understanding. While that class can be wonderful for the community aspect, it can be hurtful when it comes to not getting exposure to a training partner that will challenge you like you would be challenged in a real fight. So that's a topic that's really popular on the podcast. Otherwise, it's just kind of how to take that next step. A lot of people like to conceal, but don't know how to pull from concealment. So understanding how to, like, where to go for that, like what classes to take. Some people think that concealed carry licensure classes is like an actual firearms class. And so kind of just like filling in those holes of knowledge, essentially, is what I'm trying to do.
Awesome.
Thank you.
When did you start it? How long have you been?
Last November, I actually started it with a friend of mine. She was kind of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu person of it, and I was kind of the firearm side. And then after a while, I took it over alone, and it's been about a year. We're on episode 39, so about to release 40. We just hit over 6,500 downloads, which is insane to me, and that's just downloads. From what I understand, that's not even like how many people listen. So every time I get that email of like the update of downloads, it's a shock to me, just that people want to listen to my voice. Yeah. Really. Yeah, because I hear it a lot, and I have to like edit with my fiance, and I don't love it. So yeah.
Yeah, luckily I don't do the editing. So
yeah,
okay.
It's like, it's funny, Chris Greenfield, he does all that stuff for us, and he'll send us a screenshot of like, X amount of downloads, X amount of listeners, and it's cool to see. Like,
yes.
I don't know, I think it's super cool to see. And,
yeah.
What we're maybe 30 episodes in, 20 episodes in that we've recorded so far.
Yeah, maybe. I don't even know.
Yeah, I would say probably close to 30 that we've recorded. I don't think we've published all of them yet.
Maybe 20 are out.
Yeah, and it's I like to see. I mean, I find it super interesting to watch that number grow. And one video will have X amount, and then all of a sudden, like, we'll publish one and it skyrockets, and it's like, whoa.
Absolutely.
Who wants to listen to us ramble? Somebody does.
Absolutely.
Yeah, usually it's just like, we're just kind of hanging out and talking and just having a good conversation.
Right.
And the fact that people want to listen to that is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. I think it is anyways.
Absolutely. Your ramblings, though, are probably lessons to other people. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's hard to see when you're in it, and then later people will like tell you that your advice helped them, and yeah, absolutely. Don't know where I was going with that, but anyway.
You mentioned you've taken some classes. What are some of the people you've trained with or taken classes from, and any that stood out in particular? Absolutely.
So I first took, as far as defensive training goes, aside from the Krav I've had over the years, Craig Douglas of ShivWorks and Extreme Close Quarter Concepts. It's
jumping right in.
Yes, jumping right in. So I was recommended to him from a friend. I was told that his course was just like the golden standard. So I drove to Oklahoma from Northeast Arkansas, and so not that far, and trained. It wasn't the middle of the summer, but I do remember it would shift from being like incredibly hot outside to like incredibly cold at night, and we would be training outside. Don't know why I'm going into that, but essentially for people who are listening and don't know, ShivWorks was founded by Craig Douglas, and he teaches everything from ECQC to edged weapon. I think it's overview.
Yeah, EWO.
Yes. So I know he's an incredible instructor, and part of like why I wanted to go to those courses is to get more women to feel comfortable, like they have a place there. So when I did that, I didn't really see that that was the impact it would have. I wanted to be better with my firearm. I know that most, I guess, fights, for lack of a better word, happen and occur not from like a standing position, right? So no one's gonna like advance you from 20 yards and then you have time to like point and shoot or draw, point and shoot. So I wanted to learn what it was like to actually be challenged and like fight on the ground to get access to the weapon, how to work on spacing, so when to draw your weapon so that you're not just like presenting it within arm's reach of them. So his course covered all of that, from the shooting aspect to the force on force practice. I learned how much I didn't know in that weekend, and after that I've essentially just been trying to get better with my firearm. I'm not trying to focus on one thing at a time, but since then I trained with Tatiana Whitlock of the Walther, one of their instructors. She's incredible. She also has online courses for people that aren't close to her and aren't able to travel. She's a rock star. Yes, I look up to her so much. And that gun handling course alone just showed me how much I didn't know again. So I reached out to some friends. Kind of people I consider mentors and look up to in the industry. And I was like, hey, like, what's the best way to get better at like gun handling? And they're like, well, are you interested in competing? And around that time, someone had connected me to Justine Williams, a grandmaster of USPSA and other gun competitions. And I had her come on the podcast, and the way she talked about it and how much fun she had with it just made me realize that that's something I should look into. And so I started training with an instructor, Keith of TFI Academy in Enville, Tennessee. So kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but it's a pretty drive. It's worth it. And so I go out there with him and train anywhere from 1 to 3 days on USPSA style shooting. But in that, I've become a better marksman, and I also it's kind of demystified my gun a little bit for me as far as like one hand shooting. And but yeah, so far that's about it. I feel like I'm missing someone, but of course in that time I've trained with friends that are, instructors. It's just been very like informal training. We shot at BTO and talked a little bit about like the importance of grip. So everything like that has kind of shaped my skills today, my 3 unclassified USPSA match skills.
Yeah, USPSA or any like the outlaw matches that we shoot, those are a blast. I remember taking the first one like years ago, just like the perceived stress. It's not really stress, but like it is actual stress.
Yeah, I mean you're.
It's weird how quickly all your plan goes out the window when the beat goes off.
Yeah, I mean, you have the time you're fighting against, and then you're not shooting alone. It's not like you're
everyone's
like
watching you because you're the only one shooting.
Yeah. So you're shooting. Your peers are watching you shoot, which brings that level of stress. And you're like, yeah, well, how bad am I going to screw this up or not screw it up and have a clean run? You never know. But,
right. And they're usually talking in the background, so you have to kind of like silence it in your head, just like you would if you were in in a public altercation where you kind of get like tunnel vision. Like, yeah, it's interesting having to balance all that for sure.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but you were in medical school.
I was.
So you went from pursuing that to kind of taking this on full time. Do you want to touch on that at all?
Absolutely. For a while there, I probably didn't really want to talk about it yet. It was a decision that I kind of just led with my like heart on. And then after that, everything kind of followed. I'm a big fan of therapy. I've been in it for 5 years. My therapist is like, you got to graduate. And I'm like, no, man, like something's going to come up. Like, so like every 2 weeks we just follow up on, kind of like self-betterment. And this was a big topic between her and I, like why I was in medicine. I was really struggling with like finding my connection to it while I was in it. For anyone that's like not aware, of course, I think, pretty much anyone could imagine, like when you're a medical student, the gratification is so delayed that every day you have to choose it, and you have to have that reason refined, because you don't have time to really think about it. You have to be studying 12 to 15 hour days. So I got to a point where I wasn't really sure if that was the path for me. It was kind of my father's decision for me in a way, and I sometimes struggle saying that because I know he had good intentions. The impact was that it was difficult for me as a kind of the only daughter of his to continue that path. So long story short, kind of in the middle of the semester, I spoke with my therapist. I talked to my sisters and my mother. I took some time away from my dad to really think about what I wanted, and I just couldn't stop thinking about everything I wanted to do in this field. There's so much potential, and I have so many ideas, and I just felt like I was limiting myself, even though, of course, learning medicine is not, limiting at any point. I absolutely love the challenge of studying to that degree. But I just really missed it. I had also started She Shield while I was still in medical school.
Oh, wow.
And I wanted to spend all my time developing that. So even my study group was kind of encouraging me to think, because they knew I was a lot happier doing this. So it doesn't mean I won't go back. But it is a story that I like to share now, because I did turn to social media, and I turned to friends who had changed their path last minute, some of them in their 30s and 40s. And hearing their perspective on how it really never is too late to choose a path that is for you helped me a lot. So I'm hoping that my path can help people. Of course, I get a lot of hate across the board, people that just don't understand, of course, and sometimes it's hard because you can only put so much context out there for people. But I get a lot of comments oh, you went from a life-saving industry to a killing industry with guns. And I'm yep, you got it right. Yep. Hit the nail on the head. So that's my story in a nutshell, believe it or not. That's the nutshell version.
Yeah, I think it's something interesting to touch on, because to stop what you're doing with that you've pursued for so long and go a completely different route and pursue this I find it pretty cool. So
thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm still helping people in a way, and that's something my fiance is really good at about kind of vocalizing this to me. I'm empowering and helping people in a different way that's arguably just as intimate, because I get a lot of women that reach out to me about their situations and why they got into firearms training, and that's an honor to me. I feel like it's very similar to the intimacy you have with your physician, and that the kind of level of comfort you have exposing your life to them, and what you want to change, and kind of where you've come from, which is not always easy to talk about. So yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun to talk about. It can be touchy. I have my friends in medicine sometimes are, they're happy, of course, with what they're doing. They're I've mentioned I might go back, and they've written me this week, and they're I'm sorry, you're in Vegas at this amazing place with these people, and you're thinking about going back. I'm not thinking about that right now, but it comes to mind sometimes. So yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely you had a passion for that, so it's not you've completely just screw that. I'm
right.
Not doing that anymore. I was in the fire service for over a decade.
Really?
So I still have a passion for that, but I love what I do now. So I don't know, something to think about. But
absolutely.
What I was going to say was, sorry, brain fart.
It happens.
I've sent. I think you have a pretty interesting Instagram account for your style and being a woman that concealed carries, and there's a lot of products out there for women that some are very good, some are not good,
right.
And I think you, from what I've seen, and from we've talked here and there, and it's cool to actually see somebody like yourself who's using stuff that, I would recommend to my wife or to, somebody that I care about or a loved one who is a woman who would like want to protect themselves. And it's not like, hey, look at this account and it's garbage. It's, hey, here's somebody who is a female who knows, who dresses well, who likes to dress well, whether it's a skirt, a dress, or yoga pants, and you're concealing and doing it, I think, a good job with it. So
thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
It's interesting to watch you do what you do, and it's like, oh, hey, let me send that to somebody because I think that's a good way to do that. So
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I say recently, everything feels recent, so don't fact check me on this, okay? But I had Sarah and John Hopman of Filster on the podcast, and I got really vulnerable with them, of course, while we were recording, and I was like, you know what, like lately I've been struggling. I switched from my Glock 43X to the Walther PDP-F series, and while it's not a huge concealed carry firearm, it was a difference, like a big difference for me from the Glock 43X. So I actually have had trouble learning how to conceal that again. It's almost like I'm starting from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And I kind of felt shameful because of that I wasn't posting a lot, because I was like, oh no, like I don't want to post it unless it's perfect. What if someone takes it out of context, looks at that and thinks that like printing is acceptable or something? Right. So I won't go into that right now, but that was one of the reasons. Also, like, imposter syndrome was real. I was like, man, I have a concealed carry page, and like right now, like I have gun dicks. So like it's one of those things. I was like, great, like I'm really spot on with my brand. And they had a lot of really enlightening things to say about that. Like it's given me perspective to help women from the beginning again, and like how to check for printing, what to look for. So yeah, it kind of reminded me why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think that concealed carry like technique can be overcomplicated just because there's so many options out there. But I think that's at the same time, it's good to consider all of them within means. Like there are a few things I tell women who write me, and if they go into like, hey, I'm feeling really overwhelmed with this process, I'll give them like a few guidelines, like make sure you have a trigger guard over your holster, that it's, over your pistol, that it's, like a good sturdy material like Kydex, things like that. Just like a few things that kind of help them simplify it, as opposed to, influencer X, supporting one brand. Yeah, because it's easy. I'm totally okay to admit this. When I first got into the industry, women with guns, that it's a profitable place to be for companies, and I was so excited that companies were even just reaching out to me that I took on some partnerships, not like super, there was no contract. It was just like, hey, like product exchange for exposure. And I was like, okay, yeah, like that's so exciting. And I honestly didn't know any better until I had a few people who helped orient me. Tessa of Armed and Styled is someone I will just always recommend, especially women with different, I'll go back to what I was saying, but I think it's good to follow like a woman whose body type is kind of similar to yours, because we conceal differently. So she's kind of like more petitely built. I don't know if petitely is a word, but she's very strong, but she's, she has a petite kind of like frame. So she shares her concealment technique, and that's amazing. But when it comes to all of the resources out there, I always tell women, like, do your own research. Even on my page, I don't know everything. I don't claim to know everything. I really want to put like student of everything like in my bio, but it's kind of a vague thing. Also, like you have like 150 characters, so you have to be careful with space there. So, but anyway, I think it's easy to get wrapped up in all of that. And if you like someone, like if they come off as like charismatic on, camera, it's really easy to just like buy whatever they say to buy. So yeah. Do you guys have anything to add to that, as far as like, do you see that a lot yourself on social media?
Yeah, I like it's nice when you see somebody pushing concepts rather than products.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Like this is what you should look for in a good, holster or product or gun, rather than, sometimes it's nice to say, hey, go buy this, but
right.
Everyone, body styles and clothing options, and there's so many different variables with that. that not everything is a one size fit all.
Absolutely.
So what might be a really good solution for one person might not be, the best for somebody else. So
Yeah.
I think, pushing the concepts rather than just, this product or that product, I think is always nice to see.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, we've all fallen for it. Something doesn't have to be, firearm related, but something new comes out and you're like, oh, I need that. I want to
Yes.
get that. And then you get it and you're like, oh,
Oh.
can I return this?
Right.
And you're like, that was a bad decision.
Right, and it's normally a custom thing. Like if you get it for, a certain gun and you get a pattern, like, yeah, I have a drawer full of holsters. I will be honest with
everyone.
you.
Yeah.
Right.
If you've done it, you've got a whole box or drawer of
Yes.
The
stuff that
Tupperware
did not
bin.
work. Yeah.
Yes.
I literally like to take all, like, if I holster, for example, you get one, doesn't work out, I'll take all the screws and the washers and the
Yeah.
wings
Oh,
off of
yeah.
it, throw the holster away, and then I just have like a bag full of screws and spacers and washers.
Perfect.
And it's like, all right, when something breaks, I have have my bag full of screws that I can go to and
Yes.
replace
Like
something.
Ivor, right?
Yeah. Literally, Justin was in my office last week, and he's like, or he shows me his holster. He's like, yeah, I'm missing a screw for this. I was like, oh, come to my office. Like, come to Ian's holster repair shop.
That's
I have
awesome.
that. So.
Oh,
yeah.
that's amazing. I was training for USPSA. That reminds me, and my gun holster, I won't say the brand. It's not their fault. I didn't screw it on right, but just in case, I'm not going to say the brand. It flipped upside down,
Oh, wow.
and it's at the same moment, I'm not making this up, I tripped and my gun like fell out. I cracked my Holosun. It still works perfectly, but shout out to Holosun for like staying true, because I was there for like 5 more hours. Anyway, and this one guy was like, I got you, and like ran over to his bag, and he had a bag of all that, and
Yeah.
he was like, I build holsters, so this is my backup like accessory thing. So
Nice.
yeah, it's very cool.
I know we said not pushing products necessarily, but like, do you have a favorite holster, or what are some of your favorite products, I guess?
Right. No, I totally understand. If I didn't feel comfortable, sharing a product, I wouldn't mention it. But Filster, the Enigma is, by
Yeah.
far the best in my opinion, in my experience. Right, a little asterisk there on why I say that. I actually took it to ECQC to test it. Right. Luckily, the sim guns that Craig offered were Glock 19s or 17s, and I had the Glock 19 Enigma with me, so I was able to actually like roll with it. My pants, fell down, but not the Enigma, so that's really cool. Yeah, there's video of that anyway, so not too bad. It wasn't too bad, but anyway, absolutely. There are a few out there that I'm still very interested in looking into. There's not really, I don't want to say it, I wouldn't, necessarily say there's, unless someone like DMs me and asks me their opinion directly on a brand, but there are some interesting concepts that I'm wanting to explore. And I just want to make it clear, I haven't actually tested what I'm about to talk about out, so, I'm not recommending it yet, but I'm looking into like the Crossbreed Liberty band, and they have like a holster called like the mini tuck, and it fits in between the band. I'm curious as to how that's going to work out, because something I like about the Filsters, it has the leash, so you have retention, like vertical retention. I don't know if that's the word. I'm honestly just, let's go with it though. Like, so for people that are like, what the hell is that? Like when you pull your gun up, the holster doesn't come with it, right? So as far as like the band, it doesn't have that, like, it doesn't have that aspect. It's just, if it's tightly secured to your abdomen, I think that's kind of where the magic is. But I'm interested to see how that works out. And sometimes I'll just throw it on with the blue gun and just like invert and like roll around and like see if everything stays in place. Like sometimes that's a good way to test it. But for
Just
anyone
rolling around in your apartment.
I do, yes. Actually, my gym has a little like MMA corner with like some mats, so I do it there in public. Yes, I
Like,
prefer that.
What is Sophia doing in the corner?
Right.
Roll,
I know,
roll.
it looks so cool. It's great. I try to go. I work there, so I know when like there aren't as many people. That's when
Yeah,
I
go on the off hours.
Exactly.
Just gonna lock the door.
Right. Yeah.
Security
Absolutely.
camera footage.
Yeah.
Yes, I always tell my boss, like, hey, if anyone reports a gun, it's a blue gun. Like, please. Yeah, I try not to take it out just because, I don't
Yeah.
want to worry anyone. But, Yeah.
I,
Yeah, very good.
Never mind.
What were you going to say?
Nothing.
Take it.
So, did it take you a while? Because I mean, I have an Enigma, and it's worked really well for me. I'm having back surgery in a few weeks, so it's been a little difficult for me to carry like a belt with like an actual holster. So I've been wearing the Enigma a lot myself.
Okay.
Just because I find it a little more comfortable. Did it take you a while to set yours up to work with you?
Yes, absolutely. So before they came out with the Enigma Express, they had the standard, and yes, I built that on built it right. You know, there's an instructional video online. It took me quite some time, not because I'm a woman, because
it took me forever to.
Okay.
Yeah, like Maddie actually was better at it than I was. Yeah.
I remember when y'all came in, Maddie was like in the office building them all.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Absolutely. I did it backwards a few times. I sent a picture to Tessa every time I do it, I'd be like, this is right? It looks right. She's like, that's backwards. That's for left-handed. And I'd be like, no. So by the time the Express came out, I was like thrilled, because I had a lot of women write me and be like, I don't want to assemble that. And I'm like, I understand that.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming.
Right.
I like the Express. That's what I have been rocking.
Okay.
The Express with the sport belt. So
yes,
that's very
sport belt is solid. Yes, for those of you that don't know the sport belt, it's kind of what it sounds like. It's a thicker, more elastic band, and I have hips, womanly hips, and it makes it a more comfortable experience. So, but yes. Sorry, what was the question? I was just wanted. Was it a question? Setting it up. I'm so sorry.
For the ladies out there, setting theirs up.
I feel like it's placement's the biggest challenge. So as far as how high you have it on your abdomen, and it also has a lot to do with your style. If you're someone like me who wears a lot of high-waisted things, that's what I find most flattering on my body. Of course, the holster has to sit up higher unless I do deep concealment. So we're kind of getting into shaping your training around how you conceal. Deep concealment isn't bad if you train it. Of course, it's going to add some time to the draw. You have to there's I don't want to explain the technique on here, but as far as there is a technique as far as how many fingers to get a secure grip, and then how to pull without getting the grip caught on the concealment garment. So there's a lot that goes into that, but I would say they've made it a painless process with all the educational content they've provided.
There's a whole lot of awesome content that they have, because it can be overwhelming, especially if, I tried to do it without the video.
Really?
Oh wow, no.
I don't need this.
No, clearly that did not work. Yeah, they've done a really good job on the education aspect of it, and I think the Express is awesome too. Which is, if maybe you don't need all the different options, you can just take it out, make a few small tweaks, or even none at all, and then just be ready to rock.
Yes.
So I was really excited to see.
Yeah, between their YouTube videos and then their Facebook page. That Facebook page, if you want to learn something,
amazing resource.
At 100%.
Right. And Tessa, who I mentioned earlier, she's now one of their kind of media people. I don't really know her title, so I'm not going to guess at it. But she also, on her own page, she posts all of that. Also, they recently came out with the modular wedge kit. This is not sponsored, by the way. we love Filter and what they're doing. I just realized if I were listening to this, I'd be like, how much are they getting paid for this?
$100 million.
Right, exactly.
John and Sarah will take the Venmo, PayPal,
you can make it out.
Bitcoin.
Make the checkout,
Absolutely, yes. The modular wedge kit, is that something you guys are offering in your store?
I think
or
now we
the
just
range?
have the sports belt when they're in stock.
Yeah, those sports belts, we get those in and they're gone.
And then the Express.
Yes,
Yeah.
I actually wrote you about one.
Yeah. You're like, hey, I was like, yeah, no.
No, I tried.
He's like, I don't even have one.
Yeah. Last time we got one in, I was like, Justin, I need one of these. Do not put that in stock.
Right. That's so funny. I love that. Yeah, they came out with it. They sent me their prototype one. And that was so cool to see. It's not that bad. You just Velcro. Have you guys seen them?
Yeah, I bought a set myself.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
Has it helped you with your concealment?
100%. So even
Good.
before they came out with the wedge kit, I was I'm a bigger dude, so for me, a wing and a wedge is like a must for me. So I've been using different wedges for a while. So yeah, I picked up a set and been using them. So yeah, they work. So
Absolutely.
I like them.
Yeah.
I've always told people, I was like, listen, it's a piece of foam. Try it.
Yes.
Spend the $5-10, and if you don't like it, I'll give you $5 to buy a wedge. But for me, I mean that is a must for to help me conceal. So
absolutely. Do you all get a lot of women? I know. So I'm sure you all talk about this in other episodes. I know BTO is a separate entity from the BTO range.
Mm-hmm.
But so do you all? If this is something that you don't want to go into, that's totally fine. I'm just curious if you get a lot of women that come in and ask you guys about, like, do they buy the gun first and then they're like, like, what holster should I buy? Or is that something you know of?
Yeah, so we actually carry the Express.
Yes.
Express over there.
Yes,
we have
yes.
a mannequin that's wearing one.
Yes, love it.
Yeah.
The BTO swag on the mannequin,
Yeah.
right? Okay, yes, yeah.
Yeah, so we do get we do get quite a few women in there, and our biggest thing is we have a huge rental fleet.
Yes.
So we like to really push the like shoot a couple. Don't just rush into anything. The first thing that feels good, or a pink revolver.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is like the gun store stereotype.
Yes, yes.
It's just like, oh, you're a woman, you need a pink revolver.
Yes,
So it has to be-
absolutely.
357 Magnum.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like an airweight in 357 Magnums.
Yeah.
But we have a huge rental fleet, and then if you buy a gun the same day, it's the range fee is waived, or if you don't want to, it's $20 and you can rent like everything.
Yeah.
It covers everything. We have like over 100 over there.
yeah.
But we have Felicia. She's one of our instructors. She runs a Girl in a Gun chapter.
Yes,
So
okay.
we really try and push people, like if they're looking into something, especially if they're brand new, take a class. You can try a bunch of guns during the class, and then really get a feel for what you need and maybe why you need it.
Right.
And then Doug is an instructor there too, and he does a lot of he does really well teaching new women shooters and stuff.
Okay.
We
Yes,
have
I've worked with Doug actually.
Oh,
He's
okay.
been on the podcast. Sorry, I just.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. He's
Yeah.
wonderful.
I forgot
Oh,
he
yeah.
was on your
That's right,
podcast.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, he's great. He runs. There's the Pistols and Pearls. It's like
Yes.
some old ladies that come in and shoot.
Yes.
They love it. They have a great time.
Of
I
course,
love that
Doug's
so
hanging
much.
out with the blue hairs.
Yeah.
Yes, he's really sweet.
No, but the education is one thing that we've always been really big on, and we're glad to kind of bring that over to the range. That way people
Yeah.
have a local place where they can go and kind of not just, we don't want to sell them just a gun. Like we want them to,
Right.
come back for their next purchase and be happy with it, and then not, oh man, they sold me this and this is, horrible, and they end up hating it and never shoot, and then just have
Right.
a bad taste. So we're trying to be different than the typical gun shop, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I say often you should, try before you buy, and I feel like it's easy to say that, but I always tell people like call ahead and make sure you can actually do that because
Yeah.
not every
No,
especially
that's
academy.
a big thing.
Yeah.
Like too many people. Like I used to work at a gun store way back in the day, and we'd get people coming in shopping for their wives or their girlfriend or fiance or whatever, and
Yeah.
bring her.
Bring her.
Yeah, let's
Where
let
is
her
she?
get some hands on, and even
Yes.
not just the hands on, because it might feel one way, but then when you actually go shoot it, it's completely different.
Right.
So, if you can shoot it anything before you buy it, definitely recommend that.
Yeah, that's what I always
Yes.
told people is like, here are the good brands.
Yeah,
You know,
these are some.
Here's the 5 or 6 good companies out there. This is
Yes.
they're good models. Go shoot these and find what works for you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to point you to something shitty, but here is XYZ from whomever. Go try 10, 5, 3 guns out and figure out what works for you. So
It's like the concepts versus products
Yeah.
kind of thing that we talked about.
Yeah.
It's here's kind of what to look for
Right.
in a weapon or whatever. Not necessarily like, oh, well, I shoot a Glock, so you need to buy a Glock.
Right.
Or,
Yes.
or whatever the case may be. Insert product XYZ there.
Right.
I mean, that's unfortunately like done so much though in our industry is like,
absolutely. And it's very frustrating.
yeah, it's like, oh, I carry, a Smith & Wesson, and this is the only gun I'm going to recommend to you. And it's like, well, you're setting them up for failure. Like,
Right.
if you, I don't know. Yeah, I could
Little
ramble on
yeah.
that for an hour and a half. So
Yeah.
I won't.
I would like to work. I'm excited to teach and instruct firearms because I know I'm gonna not partner, but I'll get close with a range where in Northwest Arkansas I have one in mind right now. They don't know I'm coming for them, but I'm going to call and be like, do you have a female instructor with this background? No? Okay, well, I'm coming to town.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm excited to be there and shoot more guns because I get that question all the time. And I'm not going to lie, I always start with, by the way, I've only ever owned Glock and Walther. I really can't tell you. I've shot Smith & Wesson. I actually bought my mom an Easy slide just because of the slide.
Yeah.
I don't personally like shooting it though. Like it doesn't fit my hand. I run into the, I think it's like the safety. I haven't shot it in
On the
forever.
backstrap?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not even, sorry, it's not the backstrap actually. It's
Oh.
the, whatever's on the side. It's like a lever. I accidentally flick it with my thumb when I shoot. So it'll like, I'll think it's jamming and I put the safety on. I might be thinking of the wrong.
No, it has a
No,
thumb.
yeah,
It has a thumb safety.
It does?
You have a little,
Yeah.
little
Okay.
narrow thumb safety there.
Okay, I didn't want to. Yeah, no, for sure. And I wish I do want to get to the point where I'm so seasoned with all of the different brands that I can give that advice. This is where the imposter syndrome really sets in because I'm like I start with this is all I've ever owned. But as far as concepts go, I always tell women it has to do with hand size. Of course, like trying before you're buying, like this plays into that, and then concealability, size, and like there are two sides of that, right? Like not getting something so small it's uncomfortable to shoot, but also not getting something so large that it's hard to conceal. So there are like a few concepts that if you follow closely, you'll find the perfect weapon for you. Yeah, absolutely. Which you all know this, but
Yeah.
I'm talking, to the listener, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. You mentioned switching from a Glock 43X to
Yes.
the PDP-F.
Yes.
What made you do that?
So I am a little, disclaimer, I did get a call from Walther when they were coming out with the PDP-F. I thought it was fake. It was on my birthday, and I was like, haha, family.
Yeah, y'all
like,
got me.
right, exactly.
Very funny, guys.
Exactly, and I was just like so nervous the whole time. I was tripping over my words. And funny story, just a little tangent. We were downtown Memphis, and I forgot, like it was April 2nd. It wasn't anything special, but we were like sitting in the car at a really sketchy spot because I needed somewhere quiet to talk to Chris from Walther, and we were just like looking around, like it was a funny scenario because I'm like talking about concealed carry for safety, but anyway, it's funny. Like now that I know him well enough, I like tell him about that night where I was like risking my life to have that conversation.
You're like, I could really use a PDP-F right now.
How fast can you get it here?
Yeah.
Yes. So he called, and of course at the time, like I wasn't married to my Glock. I was really wanting, I don't know if I manifested it or what, but I was like really wanting something to try another gun out. So he offered to send me one before it was released. I of course signed an NDA at the time, and I'm still under NDA for some other things, but once I got it in, I shot it. I'm sorry, actually, that's not true. I went and shot it at the range before mine came in, and I didn't realize I had switched from, I was shooting the PDP, his like full size, and like with all the bells and whistles, and he handed me the PDP-F, and we had been training for hours, and kind of thought he handed me my Glock back, but it was the PDP-F, and I was like collecting my thoughts, and I like went to shoot it, and like my jaw actually dropped. We weren't filming, and I hate it because I really wish I could have caught that reaction.
Yeah.
It was just the most beautiful thing to shoot. I like fell in love with it. And so it's really hard. I always start with, Walther reached out to me. I don't get paid to say this. They just sent me a gun. That's the most connection I have with them, other than just really loving their entire team, and all their defensive
great
instructors.
folks over there.
Absolutely. So I do recommend it to women to at least try out. Although, and of course, like it's not partial to women, of course it's the PDP-F, but I know Chris, it's one of his like main concealed carry guns, and I know a few other men, especially in Walther, who have like made it their everyday carry, and I've actually been using it as my competition pistol, so
Nice.
I like it. There are some outfits that the Glock 43X just works for, and I don't know if that's a technique issue on my part. Of course I'm always like wanting to like be able to conceal with my PDP-F and anything like that's awesome, but sometimes it just works better to throw.
There's a
the
difference between a full, a double stack gun and a single stack gun. So.
Yes, absolutely, there is. Yes, especially I like tighter fitting clothes. That's like I hate it, but I do. Like I don't own a single A-line dress, and sweaters.
I definitely know what an A-line dress
I was about to say,
Oh,
like, I was like, do you know what
sorry.
a A-line dress is?
I'm so glad you said that. It's okay. Earlier when you mentioned a certain revolver, I went right over my head. I was about to be like, I don't know what that is, but it wasn't going to be helpful. So anyway, A-line is like, for women, it's easier to conceal in because it starts kind of more narrow at the top and it kind of fans out, which is
like an A.
Oh, like an A.
like an A.
Hey,
Yes. No.
We figured it out.
Got
So
it.
I didn't know what an A-line dress was until Tessa made a post on how A-line dresses are great for concealment. And I'm a woman, so I was like, what the fuck is an A-line dress? And then she drew, she's very good with her graphics. She drew kind of like the triangle, you know, and
Yeah.
yes. And I don't really own any. So I own like some really, I love like a bodycon sweater dress with like tall boots, like, or you know, anything like that. Like that's just kind of my style. And I think I have an advantage because I mostly own dark clothing, but I tried to conceal in that, and I remember getting so many comments my first time posting, and people were like, you're still printing, like this is really bad. And first of all, I was like, yeah, no, they're right. Like I'm printing straight up. You can see it on camera. So I got super motivated, and like after that, I learned, like I tweaked my technique a little bit and posted like a 2.0 version of that, and a little bit of a different sweater dress that it like hugs. It was like a, ooh, I just hit the microphone. Sorry. People, I'm so sorry for people listening to this if you drove off the road. It's like a kind of like a turtle. It's not a turtleneck sweater. It's like it looks like it has a scarf built into it. It kind of like, that's not important, but it's kind of looser in the middle and then it tightens down at the bottom. So it's not A-line, but there's some space there. And
It's B-line.
It's B-line. No, for sure. But that really helps. So I made like a 2.0 with slightly different version, not like going all the way to like an A-line, but yeah, something between a B-line. So yes, I forgot why I'm on this topic. I can't really remember. Or women concealing, right? And kind of like principles, the PDP-F. Yes.
Oh, yeah. No,
Backtracking.
Cool. We could get off on these little tangents.
Yes.
We don't know how we got there.
Yes.
But
Get all kinds of good information.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's where the good stuff comes from.
For sure. Yeah, and for men, I'm assuming, I'm sure you guys have some of the same issues. I mean, I know that I just from my fiance's closet and doesn't matter, but all that stuff. There are like slim fitted options for you guys. So do you all have to you have to avoid that a little bit, or have you pretty much found how to conceal?
Yeah, so I've concealed everything from like a Glock 34, a 365 XL is kind of what my go-to now. That or a little J-frame 22 mag.
Hey.
Yeah.
Master Race.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Love that little thing. The 365 XL I love quite a bit because just it's smaller.
Okay.
I have smaller hands too, so like the small grip I really like.
Yeah. Is that a SIG?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I thought so.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been worked over by Foresight Solutions.
Okay.
ForesightSolutions.com. Also sponsor of the podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
Also.
Ben, we will also take a check for
Yeah,
$100
so,
million.
Chris, at Walther, we're going to need a check as well. Yeah, we're just going to be racking.
Right.
No, but I really like that, and actually, me and Maddie have to fight over that one.
I shot yours
Yeah.
and
I have a little Hollison on it.
reached out
Yeah?
to Ben and bought one myself. So,
For real?
Yeah. That's my 365, and like a revolver has literally been one of the only two guns that I've carried for, I don't know, months at this point. So
Yeah.
But yeah, like if you're gonna have a tucked-in shirt or untucked, different jeans, like there's, it's not quite to the. It's easier for guys. I think we have
Okay.
a lot more options, and we can put a lot less effort in and still look good. It seems like with women's clothing, there's a lot more that goes into it, you know.
Right.
And it's overwhelming for me.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, it's having a smaller gun is definitely easier, and then it's. There's some considerations there, especially like
Yes.
for dress attire.
Mhm.
That's kind of where it gets bad because slacks are usually thinner, not as forgiving
Okay.
as jeans.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
look at that. You know, the gun dick if you're wearing a
Yes.
tighter pair of pants.
Absolutely. Yes.
I
Yep.
know for me, like,
Flannel shirts and jeans are
yeah,
God's
it's
like,
Chris normal's
Chris is like, yeah,
Chris's normal wear.
Yeah, but Chris also carries a comp 17 every
Yeah,
day.
whatever.
It's very
But
nice.
it's also like the same thing. I know, like just listening to Maddie and like how she goes about like patterned dresses or not
Yes.
dresses but like shirts helps break up the printing and stuff. So it's the same thing
Yes.
for guys. Like a flannel or a plaid is really good for concealing a larger gun or just concealing in general. So
I've never thought about that.
Oh yeah.
I'm so basic. My closet is all like I don't know the difference between the shirts. They're all black and like
yeah, that's how Maddie's is. She's
Yeah.
like, she loves the dark colors.
yes, she has great style. So I definitely need. I'm gonna look for some pattern stuff.
Oh yeah,
That's-
patterns definitely break up
Yeah,
the printing.
that makes sense. I guess I kind of thought if
I think it's vertical rather than horizontal. I think
I was
horizontal.
just about to say that because it'll show
Yeah.
right a little
Yeah,
bit.
because like you'll see like a little like the lines are going like this. For
Yes.
people, if you're watching on camera, they're going like this. Then if you print, it kind of like will make an arc or
That
something.
makes sense. Yeah,
So the verticals are a little bit easier, or like a wavy pattern or something.
I'm learning a lot.
And then plaid, like flannels, are just it's boxes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I know, like for me, it's
Or flamingos, like
yeah, you know, everybody needs a
Oh,
bird
those are
shirt.
flamingos. I
Yeah,
didn't know
It's the
that.
bird of my people. But like I said earlier, you know, being a bigger dude, like I can't wear a sidecar holster. Like I know a lot of people that can carry those, that they work, but it's like
Yeah.
I can't carry that. Like A, it's not comfortable for me to do that, and
Yeah.
B, like it's just I'm just gonna print horribly. So
Have you tried splitting the?
yeah, and that's what works for me.
Yeah.
If I'm going to
Okay.
to kind of carry a spare mag,
Yeah.
I have to carry it, in its own separate mag carrier. So
Right.
And that's the same thing for me. That's all. I've never really, for me, the sidecars never made sense. Like I want movement. You know, I
Yes.
don't want just like a big block.
Right.
Right up front. Like I want some movement. So I'd usually have like the gun over here and then kind of on the other side.
Yes.
Like kind of like at 1 o'clock, I guess, for the gun, and then I guess 11 o'clock
Yes.
for the
yeah, I haven't. I've been pocket carrying a spare mag for a while, or a reload if I'm doing that. But Dark Star Gears mag
The
carrier,
koala?
the koala, you
amazing
can.
product. Tom, check.
Tom, $100 million. Boom, dude. By the end of this, we're just gonna be able to stay at the Venetian.
That's
like
amazing.
we're just gonna move in.
Just live
Yeah.
here. Yes.
We're gonna take the top.
This is ours now. So
right.
but like I'll angle it to almost like fit how my like the way my groin goes, and
The
I
V
put
line?
it I'll put it in that V line, so it's
Very nice.
like hella more comfortable for me to carry that.
Yeah. So you turn it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean my
absolutely.
mag carrier, I don't even know what angle it is, but
Yeah.
Right.
it's it's not up and down. It's almost horizontal.
Gotcha.
For me to carry that, and I've done it, and that's the best way for me to do that. Because
Yes.
if you're a skinny dude, and a sidecar works for you, rock on. I mean,
Right.
there's some good companies making those holsters, but like
Right.
I cannot do that, and will not do that.
And if someone's listening and you're like, WTF is a sidecar, because I did that for a while. It's when you have like a holster connected to the mag, the spare mag holster. Do you call that like a mag holster? What do you all
Yeah, I
refer to
call
that
it
as?
a mag carrier.
Yeah, mag
Mag
carrier,
carrier. Okay. People get on to me all the time. Like I called the grip a handle, and this guy was like, "Oh my god, you don't even know like basic terminology." And I was like, "You know what? You have a point. You have a point. I just thought you would understand what handle meant." It's kind of what I
I mean, if you
responded
were to
to.
say handle, I don't know.
Right. I know.
One of those missing the forest for the trees.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Just tell him to suck it, nerd.
Right. Yes. Right,
Yeah.
right. I do have a corrections corner, and I stole that from My Favorite Murder. It's a podcast. It's called My Favorite Murder. I
Sounds
don't
like
have it.
McKinsey.
It sounds like, oh yeah.
McKinsey is always listening to like true crime.
Yeah,
podcasts
okay.
And stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's what it is, but it sounds.
It is.
the
It
name
is.
is
It's a crime comedy podcast, which I know crime and comedy don't really go together. They make
they
it
do.
work.
It's funny murder.
It is. So they tell the
I cut off her head.
So they're actually so respectful. Yes. Yes.
There we go.
I love it.
Never
They.
used that.
That's awesome. I'm so jealous. I need this now. I'll have to tell my fiance. He's the audio guy. But yeah, so not to go too far into that, but they essentially tell the story. They're very respectful to the victims. That's like foundational. But as far as like how much they shit on the murderer, it's hilarious the things they say. They'll like make fun of their appearance, like like go for things like that and just be like really
is this?
brutal. My Favorite Murder. It's Karen
Oh,
Kilgariff
I've never
and
heard
Georgia
of them.
Yeah,
Hardstark.
McKinsey's our warehouse.
Murder expert.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're gonna have to refer heard of that podcast.
Yes, absolutely. And well, essentially, they have something called a corrections corner. If they say something wrong about like one of the victims, or they'll go back, the listeners will write in and be like, hey, you messed this up. So they'll be like, hey, she was actually like 28, not 27, things like that. So I kind of have adapted that into She Shield. When I didn't really understand, I didn't know the difference between like misfire and negligent discharge. And so I had a friend of mine write it and she was like, hey, like just wanted to let you know. So like the next podcast I'd be like, hey, like I said this wrong. Let me clarify. So that's the kind of thing, going back to your question about She Shield and like how it got started. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like little things like this can make it really overwhelming and almost lead to like anticipatory anxiety to learn more. So I like to stop and like explain a little bit about that. So no, it's good. Yeah.
So what do you have coming for this year?
For this year,
yeah. Any big plans or anything cool?
As far as the podcast goes, or in general?
Just in
general.
In the life of Sophia.
Okay, yay. So that's a good question. I am taking my NRA certification course at the end of this month so that I can have a little bit more of a foundation. I know it's just like checking a box, but I am excited to kind of see how they outline their classes. I wouldn't know really where to start with a student. So I'm excited to kind of learn from that. And then soon after that, I'll take my USCCA, and then my fiance and I, he actually just passed his paramedic exam. So
awesome.
I'm about to be finished with my master's in Northeast Arkansas. We're going to move back to Northwest Arkansas, and I'd like to work with a range in town. Like I said, I have one in mind. It's called Ozark Sportsman, and I always went to them for all of my gun needs back in NWA. It's pretty big and like well respected. So, and I've never seen a woman in there like teaching. And of course, that's probably just like I haven't been there when she's there probably. But I've been wanting to reach out and develop a relationship with them so I can start teaching classes, do some private lessons. And then as far as where I'm going to take my career, that is honestly kind of, I hate to say up in the air, but I'm trying to invest in experience and training. That's my goal right now. And I feel like
invest in yourself.
Exactly. I feel like everything will follow after that. And who knows if I'll go back to medical school? Probably not. I know that sounds crazy, but it's as far as like loving medicine, that's, something I still love. So I'm trying to like foster that kind of like nurturing and caring practice into what I do with guns. So yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, where can everyone find you on the? You have the podcast?
Yes, so that's at She Shield Pod on Instagram and TikTok, and then my personal page is FIT4 and FIA Fit for Fia. It started as a fitness page, and then ever since I've played with different handles like Defense Citizen or like something crazy like that, and like a few of my friends in the industry were like, no, don't do that, like it's unique, like there's so many like tactical something out there, like just so I've kind of just developed like, hey, like I'm gonna post what fits for me, so it's fit for Fia. So yeah, so that's where you can find me. I am very slow at getting back to DMs, so if someone is listening, they're like, I DM'd you months ago, I'm responding to the most recent ones first. I've just started going that way. So if you guys have inquiries, please DM me. I will see them a lot sooner now than I have before. And yeah, check out the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's one on there you'll like, and I'd love to have you all on in the future so I can interview you. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We've been hanging out with you so far this week, and it's nice to sit down and have some cool conversations.
Absolutely.
So,
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
This has been awesome. I also have so much sympathy for the people that come on my podcast now. And they've a few of them, I won't not say all of them, but they'll be like, I'm really nervous. I'm like, why? We're just having a conversation. But it's very different when you're the one being interviewed. So it's nice. Thank you for that perspective.
Well, now you
yes.
can kind of sympathize a little bit.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, yeah, we appreciate everyone watching. If you can, go check her out, all her stuff, and then like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff, and tell your friends about the podcast and tell them how amazing it is and all that glorious stuff.
And to all the people that owe us all the money.
Yes.
We'll be waiting.
We'll send you a bill.
We're here to collect.
And then we're going to retire. No, but thank y'all for watching, and we'll see you next time.